Welcome to IBG TV. I'm your host, Mike Hill. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the guest interview. But before we get into the guest interview, I want to kind of talk a little bit about the why behind it. We just finished our boot camp as we do every single month. And by the way, we've been doing our boot camp F&I training for over 20 years. And it seems that during that training, I'll have quite a few attendees come back up to me during one of our breaks and talk a little bit more about the guest interview. And in many situations where they've missed out in the past and not doing the guest interview the way we train it in the IBG F&I boot camp. So today, that's what I want to do, talk a little bit about the guest interview. So with that being said, first of all, why is the guest interview important? This is the time when we're going to go ahead and actually find out who the guest is. More important, for the guest to find out who we are and get a little bit more comfortable. We talk about the state of mind of the guests, and many times the guest is in a apprehensive state of mind, especially when they find out that their salesperson isn't the person that's going to be completing their paperwork. In fact, it's going to be someone else. So with the guest interview, this is a time for us to go and meet the guest and get over some of those little hurdles and have them comfortable with us. It also gives us a good time to determine what their temperament is. So with that being said, let's take a look at some of the basics. The first one, it is to be conducted by the business manager at the salesperson's desk. Now, why would we do that? I've had quite a few business managers say, well, Mike, on a busy Saturday, I don't have time to go out and talk with every single one of my guests. Well, I understand on some busy days, you may have deals 3 or 4 backed up. But I will say this, a good guest interview is only going to take you about 4.5, maybe 6 minutes. It does not take that long. And if you take the time to do a good guest interview, this is going to eliminate time during the presentation where you're having to build rapport and maybe even overcoming objections because they're feeling already more comfortable when you actually get them back to the office. So again, it's to be conducted at the salesperson's desk. The salesperson's desk is the one place in the dealership where they're going to feel a little bit more comfortable. Now, as you approach the salesperson's desk, there's only really 2 things that I need you to bring with you. You're going to bring an application for title and registration. And before you actually go into the guest interview, I want you to review over the customer's credit application. Make sure you have everything that you need. Now, if you don't have everything you need, maybe it's just references or you need a signature, you can go ahead and bring that out with you. But be careful when you're out there that you're not discussing anything that's going to be personal information that may be better discussed back in the business office. Okay, so as you approach the guest during the health concerns of COVID, in the past, we've always said you're going to go and stand up and introduce yourself to the guest. Sometimes guests aren't comfortable with shaking of hands anymore. So if they're wearing a mask or if you find the situation where they are reluctant to shake your hand, that's okay. Come out there with a smile. Come up to the desk and introduce yourself as the business manager, not the finance manager. Now we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a bit. Introduce yourself as the business manager and then thank them that they purchased a vehicle from you. Once they've basically said that you're welcome, then ask for permission to join. Now, why would it be important for us to ask permission to join? We could just go ahead and sit down with them, but by asking for permission to join them, it lets them feel a little bit more in charge. And I'll tell you, 999 times out of 1,000, what are they going to say? Of course. At that point, they feel in charge and they're also feeling comfortable. They just invited you to join them. Once you do sit down, let them know a little bit more about you and what you plan on accomplishing during this interview. Let them know again that you're the business manager, and as the business manager, it's your responsibility to take care of all the paperwork, that you're going to be going over the paperwork in depth with them. You're going to make sure that they understand everything as far as this transaction goes. You're going to make sure that all the title and registration work is complete. You're going to also make sure that basically all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. Now, with that, there's really nothing for the guests to object to at this point. You're just telling them what you're going to do. as soon as you got the deal jacket, before you came out to the guest interview, I'm sure either the sales manager or the salesperson or client advisor told you that these guests are in a hurry. Well, it seems like even though the client advisor may have spent hours with the guest, as soon as they make that decision to purchase, they're suddenly in a hurry. Well, that's okay. So it's going to be important for us to talk a little bit about the time frame. You might say to them, it's when at most dealerships, when you make that purchase decision, it seems like it takes hours for everyone to complete the paperwork. Not here. Here, I'm going to have you out of here in about 25 to 30 minutes. Well, by giving them this time frame, it gives you the opportunity to let them know that it's really not going to take that long, and they're probably going to feel a little bit more comfortable. Now, you told them that you're going to be going over the application for title and registration. With that, when you take a look at an application for title and registration, there's a lot of detailed information on there. So when you're going to go ahead and talk about this, let them know, I want to review over the title application. I want to make sure that everything is spelled exactly the way it should be, and that the address is exactly the way you want the vehicle registered and titled. Now, you could at that point then just give the application for title and registration to the guest. Well, with all that information and they're not used to seeing it, a lot of times they're just going to take a quick look at it and go, oh, yeah, that looks correct. And yet it's not. They didn't want to feel dumb. And so they just take a quick look, see their name on it, and figure that's enough. So what we suggest that you do is actually go over the title application with them. For instance, I have your name as James A. Smith. I have you at 123 Main Street, Salt Lake City, Utah, 84111. I have you purchasing a 2021 Ford F-150 blue in color. Is that correct? Now, these are all easy questions for the guest to answer, but as you're going through that and as you're moving your fingers there, you'll notice their eyes are going to follow wherever your fingers are. Two things are going to happen. One, these are going to be easy questions for them to answer. They're going to let you know if there's anything that is wrong. And more important, you're not going to be in the situation that we've seen happen so many times in the business office where you're halfway through the paperwork and then the guest realizes that you spelled their name wrong or that you didn't put a P.O. box on there, something like that. Okay, so once you've done that, once you've gone over the application for title and registration, it's important to let them know again, basically what's going to happen. So a word track similar to this. Mr. Guest, in just a few minutes, you're going to be coming back to my office. And one of the first things we're going to do before I have you sign anything is we're going to review over all the numbers that you and your client advisor agreed upon. I want to make sure that everything that you and he agreed upon are the exact same numbers that I have. And again, we'll have you do that before I have you sign anything. Now, what's the customer going to say? Well, probably nothing. But at the same time, they're probably going to be nodding their head. And at that point, you can go ahead and move on. Now, after we've done that and we've made sure that everything is registered perfectly, it's my responsibility to go over the manufacturer's warranty that comes with this vehicle. I want to make sure you understand everything you're entitled to from the manufacturer so you can take full advantage of their excellent coverage. Now, this is the first part of basically a three-part sequence to start creating the why, the want and need for what you're going to be offering in the finance office. So once you've said that, then you're going to immediately go into finding out how long they plan on keeping the vehicle and how many miles they're going to put on the vehicle. Now, a big mistake that I see with many finance managers is they'll ask that question just that way. Well, how long do you anticipate keeping this vehicle? Now, when you ask a question that way and they're not used to or don't know that question is going to be asked, they don't want to sound dumb, so they just may come up and make up an answer. Oh, I don't know, a couple of years. Okay. Well, how many miles do you plan on putting on this vehicle? I don't know, 12,000. It's better to ask a directed question. So instead of asking an open-ended question like I just showed you, ask a directed question. A question like this. Most people buying a new car today plan on keeping it for at least 7 years. Many people will still have it after 10. Do you think you're going to own this closer to 7 years? Or do you think you'll still have it after 10? Now, when you ask a question that way, there's basically three responses they're going to give you: 7 years, 10 years, or exactly how long they plan on keeping that vehicle. Either way, it's coming from them, and now we know how long they anticipate keeping that vehicle. Now, the next question would be mileage. So what we do is we're going to use the averages. Here along the Wasatch Front, we drive between about 15 and 20,000 miles per year. Do you think you drive closer to 15,000 miles per year or closer to 20,000 miles per year? Again, you're going to get one of three answers: 15, 20, or exactly how many miles they plan on putting on that vehicle. So why is this information important? During the interview, first of all, again, you're asking them questions, you're finding out a little bit more about them, but the information that they're giving you is now coming from their mouth. So when you come back in later and talk about vehicle service contracts, Express 5, or any other ancillary items that we may have, they already know, because they've said it, how long they plan on keeping that vehicle. So the why is being created in their own mind. Now, let's go forward. There may be some other questions that you might want to ask. What are they going to be using the vehicle for? Is this going to be just for commuting to and from work? If it's a truck, are they going to be pulling a trailer or boat? Those type of things. Get to know the guest a little bit. Now, I also talked to you at the very beginning that this is a good time for you to be determining what temperament you're working with. Are they red, direct, green, extrovert, blue, paced, or yellow, structured? Now, we train that in our F&I boot camp, but it's important now for you to start getting an idea of what type of temperament that you're going to be using. So during the actual presentation, you're always using the right communication with them and the proper bridge words. Now, some other questions that you might want to ask: where do they plan on doing their normal maintenance on this vehicle? Sometimes you'll also find that in order to get anything done, we're going to need some additional down payment. This would be a good time that you can ask for additional down payment. Now, we're going to give you some examples here in just a bit, where we're going to show you a proper introduction and some introductions that with common mistakes.
Hi, are you Mike?
Yes, I am.
Hey, I'm Fernando Arroyo. I'm the business manager. Can I join you?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Thank you. Well, Mike, congratulations on that new vehicle. That vehicle is gorgeous.
Well, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
excited about it.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing business with us, by the way. We really appreciate it. Being the business manager, one of my jobs is to make sure that all your state and federal paperwork is accurate. So what I brought with me is the vehicle application for title. And I want to review this with you to make sure that the name is spelled accurately, because this is how we're going to be titling this vehicle.
Oh, okay.
So I have your name as Michael Hill,
Mm-hmm.
and your address at 123 Main Street in Salt Lake City. And that's 84111. Is that accurate?
Yep, that's perfect.
Perfect. Also, just to give you a quick idea on what we're going to be covering in the business office when we get there, is I'm going to review the numbers to make sure that what you and your sales advisor discuss is exactly how I received it.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thanks.
Also, I'm going to be covering the manufacturer's warranty. Are you familiar with that coverage at all?
Yeah, he went over it a little bit with me.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to elaborate on that to make sure that you understand exactly what you're entitled to from the manufacturer at no cost to you. So that way you can take full advantage of everything.
Oh, okay.
Perfect. Are you also thinking about maintaining the vehicle here with us at this dealership?
Yes, yeah.
Great.
Well, I can always do my maintenance with you guys. You guys have been great.
Perfect. Good to hear. With that being said, a lot of our customers nowadays are driving a little bit longer just because the Wasatch Front is growing quite a bit. And most people are driving anywhere from 15 to 18,000 miles per year. Do you think you're going to be closer to the 15,000 miles per year, or do you think you're going to be closer to the 18,000 miles per year?
Well, I probably drive a lot more than most people. I'm going to be at least 20,000 miles per year.
Okay, perfect. Now, most people are keeping their vehicles anywhere from 7 to 10 years nowadays. Do you think you're going to be keeping it closer to the 7 years or the 10 years, you think?
Well, as much as I'd like to trade it in, every few years, I like to keep my cars as long as possible. So I plan on keeping it past 10 years. I want to use it until it can't be used anymore.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. No, that's great. Well, give me about 10 more minutes. I'm going to get all this paperwork ready. So I'm going to go into the business office. And once I'm ready, I am going to come out here and grab you. And that way we can finalize all the paperwork. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike. And good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hi, are you Mike Hill?
Yes, I am.
Hi, I'm the finance manager. You ready to sign your paperwork?
Yep, I guess I am.
Excellent. Follow me to my office.
Okay.